Hello everyone, this is Reverend Naoya Okano from Los Angeles Gedatsu Church. Today, I would like to talk about the significance of the sun and what we can learn from the sun spirit. I would also like to introduce you to someone who lives the characteristic spirit of the sun. As you know, the sun has been an object of worship from ancient times, not only as a religious symbol, but as an essential element of life. Throughout recorded history, humans on every continent have recognized the power and energy of the sun and its essential relationship to all forms of life. Let me give you some examples. First, the sun is the source of food. For humans to survive, we must consume carbohydrates, the sugars, starches, and the fibers found in plants. But where do plants get their food? The answer is they make it themselves. Plants use sunlight, water, and the carbon dioxide in the air to make glucose, which is a form of sugar they need to survive. This process is photosynthesis, and only plants can create these organic substances. In other words, we are able to survive by consuming solar energy through plants. During the process of photosynthesis, plants also create and expel oxygen. It goes without saying that we can't survive without oxygen, and we can't burn anything for energy like electricity without it either. Next is water. When the surfaces of oceans and lands are heated by solar energy, water evaporates, rises to the sky, and creates clouds, which eventually returns to the earth as rain or snow. This circulation of water happens because of solar energy. In other words, we are able to consume and use water thanks to the sun. The last example is wind. Like water, air also heats and expands. When air rises, it cools and shrinks. Also, because the Earth's axis is tilted away towards the sun, the strength of solar energy falls unevenly upon the Earth's surface. Winds are created by this differential heating of the Earth. Without this constant movement of air, epidemics like COVID-19 spread very easily and quickly, and plant seeds can't spread. Also, winds over open bodies of water transfer energy to the water in the form of waves and tides. Maybe I have gotten too much scientific, but it is to illustrate the essential relationship the sun has to all living things. It is not too much to say that no life can exist without the sun. The sun is absolutely a gift from God. A significant feature of the sun is that it gives its light and energy equally to all without distinction. And it grants us these life-giving gifts without complaining or asking anything in return. Master Gedatsu Kongo called this quality of giving without asking for anything in return as the sun spirit. He taught that this is the highest moral conduct which we should practice and achieve. Gedatsu Kongo erected the Sun Spirit Monument as the symbolic expression of the spiritual significance of the sun. He unveiled the monument on February 11, 1940, the 2600-year anniversary of the imperial reign of Japan. At this celebration, Gedatsu Kongo said, "Compare yourself with this sun spirit. Reflect on yourselves and determine to live with a sense of appreciation and requital like the sun." The global pandemic has driven our society into darkness. As we begin to recover from its health and economic impact, we, as Gedatsu students, should engrave the sun spirit on our minds and in our hearts. We should strive to live like the sun by bringing light into our surroundings and the lives of others. Here, I would like to introduce you to an individual who has sincerely practiced the sun spirit, Hideto Yoshioka. Hideto Yoshioka is a 55-year-old Japanese doctor, and let me give you his brief profile. When he was a teenager, Hideto learned that because of wars, famine, and poverty, many children in Asia and Africa were dying because they lacked access to medical treatment. Seeing this, he became determined to be a doctor and offer medical treatment to those without access. After becoming a doctor, he worked at an emergency medical service in Japan to hone his skill as quickly as possible while saving money. When he had saved enough money, he began volunteering with NGOs, which is non-governmental organization, in developing countries like Myanmar. In 1996, when he started medical practice in Myanmar, there were areas where there was only one doctor to treat more than 300,000 people. He established his base practice there and provided a traveling clinic until he ran out of his own money. Later, Hideto founded a non-profit organization called Japan Heart, for which he continues to offer free medical treatment in many developing countries. He established the charity as a way to get monetary support for his work. Gedatsu Kai of Japan is one of the supporters of Japan Heart. The Myanmar study tour, in which one of our members, Wataru Matsumoto, participated a couple of years ago, is part of the program to support Japan Heart. I think you would agree that Hideto Yoshioka is someone who has sincerely practiced the sun spirit. Here is one example of that. When Hideto began his volunteer work in Myanmar, he received some money from the NGO to cover his cost of food. However, he didn't spend the money on himself. Instead, he used it to provide meals for the malnourished children he visited. He was given rice, vegetables, and eggs as a form of appreciation from the people in the village he served, but he cashed in those items to purchase much needed medicines for the people. The children didn't know that their meals came from him, so he was never thanked directly by them, but Hideto was just happy to be able to see the kids eating meals. He thought, I'm lucky to be able to come here. I'm happy I'm here. I'm glad I was born in this world. He said, virtuous deeds that you practice without anyone's notice bring the greatest blessings from God. If you want true happiness, live for the sake of others. That maximizes your value, not attention and acclaim. I believe that Hideto Yoshioka is one who truly practices the Sun Spirit and the highest moral code that Gedatsu Kongo taught. Maybe Hideto's example is too virtuous for us to follow, but there are many ways we can contribute to society and practice the Sun Spirit. Many of our own members are practicing the Sun Spirit. LA member Cookie Barthel has been volunteering every weekend at a food pantry, providing food for those who are needy. Also, Scott Takeda and John Horner in Sacramento and Kenny Critani in Los Angeles are always ready to help at our churches and prepare for our festivals and bazaars. And many members and friends help and support each other and volunteer at our events. Another form of practicing the Sun Spirit are the prayers we have been giving for the souls of coronavirus victims and ancestor blessing for healthcare workers. The sun continually gives light and energy 24/7, equally to all unconditionally. Even at night, when we can't see the sun, it is still generating light and energy to all things on the other side of the earth. I hope that today's Sun Spirit service has allowed us to become more aware of the sun and appreciate its meaning in our lives. I believe that when we promise ourselves to live like the sun and practice the Sun Spirit in our daily lives, we will surely create a life full of true happiness, joy, and kindness. I sincerely pray for your health and happiness. Please stay safe. Thank you very much. Bye.